Welcome to the Podium. This is a Stats and Fats production all about motorsports. I'm Jim Rouse. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Podium. This week we're pushing for changes to the point structure in NASCAR's lower tiers, discussing the latest craze and sponsorship in NASCAR, and making some predictions for the round of 16. Let's fire up those engines. Alright, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Cup drivers in the lower series, and I know they've worked on it, but here's my issue. It's unfair that a guy can beat the Xfinity field by 5 seconds, it seems, and get 0 playoff points because Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, whoever wins the race. But then, in another race, a guy can lead 1 lap, and hey, he wins the race, fine, I get it. But he ends up getting the playoff points. Just doesn't seem right to me, you know? Ross Chastain's had it happen to him a couple times, and it just seems wrong because look at his playoff points compared to everyone else. So I think NASCAR is really going to have to look at that and basically pretend the Cup drivers don't exist in the results when it comes time to pay the playoff points out. You know, I have the same feeling like last year when Justin Haley won the Firecracker 400. Kurt Busch should have got those playoff points. The points should always be paid out to the highest driver who's eligible. Otherwise, you got points missing. Just doesn't seem right. There really is no fair way to do this, but I think it's just a bad system. It's the best it's been in a while, but it's still not fair. Now we move over to talking about sponsorship in NASCAR, another thing the sanctioning body's got to work on. Geico withdrawing its sponsorship of Germain Racing at the end of the year, a team they have sponsored for nearly 15 years between Xfinity and Cup. Not good for the Germain team. Now he's exploring all of his options, including selling the team. You know, and why does the sanctioning body steal sponsors anyway? You know, I get that they maybe get a little bit more recognition and ROI, but it just doesn't seem right. An option I saw that I'd like to see is any official sponsor of NASCAR, whether it be the official candy, the official motor oil, the official furniture store of NASCAR, must sponsor a Cup team in all 36 races. The RTA, the Race Team Alliance, can set a standard that a sponsor must meet for how much it costs for that team to make sure that they're funded for the entire year. Now, for the teams, they can sell up to 12 of those races and release the official sponsor of NASCAR from any races that they so desire. So an example, Bubba Wallace is a Coca-Cola Racing family driver. They're a presenting sponsor of the series. So they say, all right, Bubba, we'll sponsor you. So they have to put up the money for all 36 races. Now, let's say Bubba, like he's gotten a few sponsors, and he can sell up to 12 of those and be able to cover it. That way the team can make it even more money, or however it may go. That way, we don't have shenanigans where, Sunoco decides to sponsor Denny Hamlin where they only have to cover 2 races. No. We're sponsoring some of these lower teams, because remember, back in the day, there used to be cars sponsored by Goodyear, by 76, things like that. Let's make it happen. And finally, how about a playoff prediction for the Cup Series? I know the Southern 500 already took place, but it doesn't really change my mind on anything. Thankfully, none of them had too bad of a day. I know a couple, Ryan Blaney, Matt DiBenedetto, didn't have the best of races, but too bad. Here's our playoff prediction since we didn't get to do it last week. Out in round 1, Cole Custer, Clint Boyer, William Byron, and yes, even the guy who finished second, Austin Dillon. Kind of glad he didn't win because I didn't want to have to change my prediction. I just see them slipping in the next 2 races. Richmond and Bristol, short tracks, I think that's where you're going to see some of the guys like DiBenedetto step up, Blaney step up, and you're going to see the slip-ups from Boyer, Dillon, Custer, and Byron. So they're going to be out in round number 1. Typically, I'd go ahead and give the whole prediction, but not going to do it. I will give you my championship 4, though, however. Harvick, Hamlin, Keselowski, Chase Elliott. Shocker. I know. Bold predictions here on the podium. Now it's time to take some questions from the listeners. That's you guys. Hey, how you doing? You can send us your questions on Twitter to @StatsAndFats or to myself @JimRouse96, or you can get us on Facebook at Stats and Fats Productions. First, @Larry45838, that's a lot of numbers, asks, who will be the next big driver in the Cup Series to retire? Well, my belief is that it's Kurt Busch and or Martin Truex Jr. hanging it up next year. Busch will be, of course, making way for that next era at Ganassi. Seems like it's Justin Haley and Ross Chastain heading there. While MTJ will be ready to just move forward in life. Hasn't been the best of years for him. I know he's coming on strong now, but if you take out where he didn't get to finish the race, it's like 10 in a row where he's been a top 3 car. So I think he'll just be ready to go ahead and move on with life. And, I had a feeling that this year might even be his last, but maybe A, doesn't want to be part of the Jimmy Johnson tour, and B, I don't think Gibbs would have let Eric Jones go if that were the case. They'd be playing it coy on where Christopher Bell is going to end up, but they would have had their plan. So I'll say Kurt Busch and Martin Truex Jr. next year. Chris asks, is Scott Dixon the best IndyCar driver of all time? That I've gotten to see by far. However, as teammates, you got to remember Dario Franchitti did earn 2 Indy 500s to Scott's 0 and won 3 titles to Scott's 1. Granted, Scott was in the top 3 in points every year, just like he has pretty much been since 2005. Seriously, look it up. Incredible what Scott Dixon has done in his career. More incredible is what he's doing at 40. It proves he's a level up on the rest of the era. I'd love to see him try some other disciplines, but it's just not like it was back in the time of AJ and Mario, the only 2 who can really compete with him for title of best ever. You just need so much dedication to be competitive in any kind of top-level car. I do think Scott could be on it quickly, as he proved in his tests in Formula 1 back in the day, where he was pretty quickly on with Ralf Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya. Finally, Brittany asks, do you think IndyCar will add any extra races this year? I don't think so. With Mid-Ohio back on for next weekend as a doubleheader, I think we're good. We've got our 14 races. That's what they said they needed to pretty much count it as a full season and be good with it. Scott could very well wrap the title up at Mid-Ohio this weekend, a track he's won at, 6 times in 15 tries. That means the final 3 races, the title could already be wrapped up. If he doesn't wrap it up, he's got a doubleheader at the Indy Grand Prix course that he won at earlier this year. Fantastic. Surely St. Pete, the final race, number 14, will be a formality, but it could be the spot where Dixon grabs number 53 and passes Mario for second all-time in IndyCar wins. It would give a little bit of a cool ending to the season. Now, let's head down to the podium. In third place, Nicholas Latifi. Why? Well, what will be the final race for the Williams family? Latifi put in a solid drive in what is definitely the worst car on the grid. While Sir Frank deserved a better send-off than 11th after his over 40 years in the sport, the Williams just isn't capable of much more, sadly. Importantly for Latifi, though, and why he's up on the podium, he beat his highly touted teammate George Russell in a non-changing weather race that both cars finished in. Something I don't believe has happened yet for George Russell. While 1 spot more would have been so sweet to earn that point and send Sir Frank off with probably the best result they've had in a couple years, Latifi's drive should not be overlooked. In second place, Ben Rhodes. Breaking a 48-race winless streak is always mega, and Rhodes did it in multiple ways that prove that 99 team is ready for the championship. The 99 team was top 5 all day, and the team made the right call to stay out on the green-white checkered. It is a team sport, after all. Rhodes did the rest on that restart, though he almost messed it up, and locked himself into the playoffs while also building some much-needed momentum for a championship run. And in first place, who else could it be but Pierre Gasly. At this point last year, Gasly had just been sacked by Red Bull after 12 races and had lost his close friend Antoine Hubert at Spa. Now, a month removed from having his house robbed while being out at a race, a brilliant podium finish last year in Brazil, and some stunning drives for AlphaTauri, he sits as the first race winner, not from Mercedes, Ferrari, or the always factory-backed Red Bull, since Kimi Räikkönen's 2013 Australian Grand Prix triumph. I believe we can all see that Gasly is the sensational talent we knew he was, and that his shortcomings in the Red Bull were not all down to him. A thoroughly deserved win for Pierre Gasly, AlphaTauri, and yes, F1 fans across the globe. Thanks for listening to The Podium. Remember to like and share the podcast with your friends. Don't forget you can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more at Stats and Fats Productions. Check out our YouTube channel as well, Stats and Fats Show with Fitz. Talking Hardball with the Fats will post on Wednesday nights. Hat Trick Hockey uploads every Sunday afternoon. And our main show, the Stats and Fats Show with Fitz, drops every Friday night. Again, remember to tweet your questions to us on Twitter at Stats and Fats or on Facebook, Stats and Fats Productions. And don't forget to attack that next corner.